Good morning. We're on day 27. Yay! And as you can see in the title description, it says we're going to talk about trials, which of course, if you read your Bible consistently or at all, you hear people talk about this one in James all the time. James 1:2. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds. And so many times you're like, I have to, like, joy? Like, what does that mean? Like, how am I going to see joy in this? And why would I consider it joy? Not just joy, but pure joy to go through this? No, like, it doesn't make sense, right? And so, I looked up the definition just of the word trial. It's a basic Google definition. And it's a formal examination of evidence before a judge, and typically before a jury, in order to decide guilt in case of criminal or civil proceedings, which of course is our court system. It's a trial. Or it's a test of the performance qualities or suitability of someone or something. So that's more kind of like what we're talking about, because we're not talking about like an actual trial. But if you look at that, if you look at it in a sense of like, a trial with the judge and jury, it's like, okay, so if you feel like what you're going through is a trial, is there a judge? Have you created a judge in this scenario? And is there a jury watching you? And so it just made me kind of think more of like when something is going on in your life, do you feel like people are judging you and watching you as you walk through this scenario, this challenge? And so sometimes that's what gets us even more is like the fear of judgment. It's like, okay, so if I'm going through this, are people going to judge me because of this? And God's like, one, it doesn't really matter. Like that's not the thing. Um, and you're supposed to consider it joy, not just joy, but pure joy. And so how do we do that? How do we truly, like, when we have a trial, a challenge, something that just hits us? And a lot of the times those um they just kind of come out of nowhere. It feels that way anyway. And so how do you just turn it to joy? And so we're going to talk about that. So it says, write down any trials you are facing. How can you find joy? And if you're having troubles, take a few minutes and create a gratitude list. Again, we've done this a couple times now. We've done a gratitude list. And that's the thing with retraining your thinking. You've got to replace the negative with something positive. You can't just shut it down and expect it to just stop, because we talked about your brain doesn't stop functioning. It doesn't stop thinking. You may not be connected to the thoughts, but your brain is still clicking. And so that's what this is. And so you have to engage. And sometimes we have these thoughts that are so embarrassing or ugly, and that we're like, I don't want anyone to ever know that that was the thought in my head. And they don't have to know. That's the thing. They don't have to know. However, God does know. And then that is a reflection of what's happening in your heart. And so you have to heal those spaces in your heart. You have to like really connect. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to connect our thinking with our heart. It's like, why does your brain go to those places? And so when you start going down like these trials and you start getting upset, angry, all of that, how do you turn it? How do you stop the negative thinking pattern? Because once you get into that space, you become that emotion. You may not think it is, you are, you know, uh, but let me tell you, the people on the outside, they see it. They're like, oof, yeah, Betty's not happy today. Something's going on with Betty. I don't know what, but something's going on with Betty. And then they ask Betty, hey, Betty, how you feeling today? And Betty's like, I'm fine. Why? Like, I'm good. Because she doesn't want people to know what she's thinking, or she hasn't acknowledged, truly where her thoughts have gone. and she hasn't connected them, and so those thoughts are creating this aura, this atmosphere of her being troubled or sad or angry or something's off. And so we have to replace that negativity with something positive. And one of the easiest ways to do that is like worship music, start singing worship music, and then gratitude. Write out your gratitude list. Start seeing what is around you and what you're grateful for. And if your brain does go off on these tangents, um, if you just, we talked about this a few weeks ago, engage with your senses. Okay, the gratitude list can help you do that. It can help you like ground yourself back into where you're at, your reality. And so what are some things you are grateful for? How can you do this? And we talked about doing the ABCs of gratitude. Just start going down that list. Start with something that starts with A. Apples, maybe you like apples. Maybe there's like an oak tree in your yard, and so you like you think of the acorns that fall. That's an easy way to be in the present, to see something around you. And so start going through just to change your thinking. And, you know, I'm going to put these replays on, so they'll just keep playing on the 27th of other months. But for the day that I'm recording this, it happens to be Thanksgiving. It is Thanksgiving of 2025. And how fitting that that's what this says. So one, it talks about your trials, and some people, the trial is spending time with family. Sometimes that is a trial. Sometimes seeing the people you love is hard because there's been some discourse, there's been some arguments, you don't agree on things. Some people love to pick a fight, you know, they like to poke. Why families love to do that? They just love to poke each other, you know, and sometimes you just don't. I mean, think about how annoying that is. Someone sitting next to you and just like literally poking you in the arm. Yeah, it reminds me of the scripture. I think it's in Proverbs about it's better to live like upstairs and away in the corner than living with a nagging wife. That's kind of like somebody that pokes you, the poking. And you just, I mean, it's annoying. And so that could be what you're going to experience today for Thanksgiving, because we have this feeling, this idea, this cultural concept that Thanksgiving means we gather everyone around a table and eat this particular kind of food. That's kind of what people do. And so even like when I was in the grocery store yesterday and walking around, people are trying to buy all their ingredients of stuff, and they're buying all the things they don't ever normally buy, so they don't know where they are. And so they have their lists, and they're looking at their list, so they're paying no attention with all the people around them, and so they're literally blocking the aisle, and there's like no, I mean, it's full. Like there's carts everywhere. There's 5 on this side and 5 on this side, all trying to go down the aisle, like the baking aisle. You know, it was insanity. And so I'm just like, I'm standing there, and the guy, you know, he's like, well, you can go around me. I'm like, well, I actually need where her cart's at. I said, that's what I'm buying. And then so then she tries to move so I can grab my thing, and then I come back, and now my cart's in the way of these people behind me. They're looking at me like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm trying to grab the coconut oil, you know. And everyone was kind. No one was grumpy or anything like that. But it just when you're in that space, and so it's like all these people are trying to do something that they don't normally do, like, you know, they don't know where these ingredients are. They're trying to do all this stuff, but for some reason we feel like this is what we have to do today. We have to create this environment of, well, it's Thanksgiving, so therefore everyone needs to be together, and I need to make this food, and I need to make the stuffing. I don't know what recipe am I going to use. Am I going to use grandma's, or am I going to use this new one that I saw on Pinterest? Just all the things. And then we all try and come together, and most of us don't have the refrigerator space. We don't have the oven space to cook everything like it's supposed to cook. And so this one's sitting out, and then we got to warm it back up, and then we got to do this. And all these people are saying, oh, we'll just prep this beforehand and have this ready, and you can bake all your pies. And then, I mean, it's just, and it's great. I'm not down on it, but when you actually logically think about it, we create this atmosphere of like, no, everyone has to come together. And then people start fearing it. They start getting all these anxieties of like, oh, I'm gonna have to see Aunt Betty, all that kind of stuff. And it's just fascinating that we are throwing ourselves into the trials today. Okay. So if we're going to put ourselves in the trial, we might as well just come out and be like, I'm just going to consider it pure joy, Jesus. Like, here we go. It is going to be joyous. It is going to be great. And because this is my family, this is who you put all of us together. Like, that's family. And it can be chaos and dysfunctional and funky and tension and everything else, but it's your family. And so just take it as the joy. Don't fuss over the stuff, the comments, the everything, and just try and just consider it joy. You got together, you got to see these people, you got to see their faces and hug them and everything else. And so I just am praying for you today that it is a joyous day for you. And as you're facing trials, if you have to get away and start writing a gratitude list, then do that. And then start writing down all their names and being like, you know what, I am grateful for Betty. She can be difficult, but I'm so grateful for her because she was there when I needed her 10 years ago. So take a step back if you're starting to feel anxious or angry or the negativity's coming through. Take a step back and re-ground with Jesus. Just with your gratitude list, just like step back and just consider it. I know I keep saying it, consider it pure joy. And then it also kind of makes me laugh because it says my brothers and sisters, and it's literally Thanksgiving, and you're sitting around the table with family. So it's very because I wrote this 30 days like four years ago when I published my book. And so it's just fitting that this day landed on today. I mean, God is so good. He always just puts it all together. And so on this Thanksgiving Day, I pray that is good for you. And if you're watching this on another day, I pray that it is good for you and that you are going to be surrounded, with your brothers and sisters. And it doesn't, I mean, you may not like biologically have a brother and a sister, but you know what I mean? The family. And even Jesus, I think it's in Matthew, at one point he was with his disciples and teaching and preaching, and his mom and his brothers and sisters were outside, and they're like, we want to see Jesus, we're his family. And he was like, well, no, this is my family. And so Jesus called everyone, not everyone, but called them his brothers and his family. And so that's what we do. Like we have family, it extends beyond the biological family that we have. And that's just such a beauty and the picture of how God created. He created us for a relationship. And I think that's why this at Thanksgiving, because he's created us all for a relationship. Even those of us who are introverted and, prefer to be more solitary, we still need to be in community with one another. And that is something that the Thanksgiving holiday does. It brings people together to sit around and enjoy a meal. And so wherever you are and whoever you're spending it with, I pray that it is truly a blessing and it is a joyous day, and you can really extend the love of Jesus with your family and friends